Here we have another movie that you can add to the microscopic list of good prequels. Rise of the Planet of the Apes has been considered to be a reboot of the Planet of the Apes series, but I personally find it to be also a prequel to the original Charlton Heston 1968 Planet of the Apes. It follows a scientist played by James Franco who's trying to find a cure for Alzheimer's because his father has it. So he starts experimenting on chimps. This drug that he's using to test on chimps makes them appear highly intelligent. Unfortunately, one of the chimps that's been tested by this drug is killed after going berserk because it's later found out that this chimp was protecting her offspring. So James Franco adopts the young chimp, names him Caesar, and it turns out that Caesar has inherited the drug from his mother and is born to be super intelligent. Unfortunately, through a series of events, he soon finds out that the world of humans is very cruel and dark, so he ends up leading an uprising of the apes to pretty much become the dominant species. I mean, come on, we're not all that bad. I mean, look at me. I'm going to confess something. Planet of the Apes was a series that I've not been fully invested in. I've never seen any of the other movies in between the original Planet of the Apes and Tim Burton's remake, which the original Planet of the Apes I think is one of the greatest science fiction films ever made. Yeah, it can have some cheesy moments, but when you think about it, it is truly a classic. Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes is awful. It is an atrocious remake, one of the worst ever made. So when Rise of the Planet of the Apes came out in 2011, I had no interest. The Tim Burton remake left such a bad taste in my mouth that I didn't care to see another Planet of the Apes movie. And it especially didn't help that they were using CG for all the apes instead of, well, makeup and costumes. But 2011 ended up being a big year of surprises, meaning there were movies that came out that year that I thought were going to suck, looked like they were going to suck, and have been proven wrong. Those are X-Men First Class, Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, and Rise of the Planet of the Apes. What I really like about this movie is, unlike a lot of typical summer movies, it sort of reminds me of Ridley Scott's Alien in a way, in the sense that it moves at a very quiet pace. There aren't giant action scenes every 20 minutes. It really focuses on the characters, tells an honest and simple story, and it has a great payoff in the end. All the actors do a good job, and the characters are very believable in their roles. And there are no clear-cut villains. The closest we ever get to a villain is the teenager at the Ape Sanctuary, who's played by Tom Felton, aka Draco Malfoy, which, let's be honest, he's just playing an American Draco Malfoy, who, he's the villain because he's helping his father with this ape sanctuary, but in Caesar's eyes, it's like a prison. So Tom Felton's character gets a joy out of torturing the other apes and Caesar, and that's what actually leads Caesar into seeing how cruel the human world can be, and it's the cause of the uprising. So, thanks a lot, Draco Malfoy, you doomed humanity by making apes pissed off. And the thing with him is, like, he's not really a villain, he's just a stupid teenager who can be an enormous dick to chimps. However, the real standout in this movie is Caesar, who is just not a simple CG ape, but is played by Andy Serkis, the same guy who's done Gollum, King Kong, and even did some mocap work for Godzilla. And he's going to be in Avengers Age of Ultron and Star Wars Episode 7. But getting back to Rise of the Planet of the Apes, for playing an ape, he really does bring some human emotion to Caesar. And, I mean, he did the same thing for King Kong, which is why a lot of people, when the movie came out, believed that, hey, this guy should get an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor in this movie. That was something when the movie originally came out that I thought, he's not good enough to get an Oscar nomination, but after seeing the movie in prep for Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, I thought, you know what, I actually take that back. This guy, he should have gotten some sort of Oscar nomination, but unfortunately, the Academy does not consider motion capture performances as actual acting, even though the actors are there, they're just in CG makeup, but And that's the Academy's rules. I'm not the one to judge them. But, I mean, Andy Serkis did a fantastic job in that role. So, I don't know, maybe one day the Academy will consider motion capture performances as acting. The CG on the apes are also very impressive. But really, what makes the apes seem lifelike are the motion capture performances, which a lot of the apes were done through motion capture. Like the orangutan was motion captured, a couple of the chimps, the gorilla. Not all of them by Andy Serkis, but by several different actors because, I mean, you can't have Andy Serkis mocapping more than one ape at a time. But that's what really made the apes believable in this movie. Not the way they're created through the CG, but the way the motion capture actors performed them and gave them human-like emotions. Now, I did have some problems with this movie. Not enough to make this a bad movie at all, but they are minor gripes. Okay, you know what? This one's actually not minor. Why did they have to crowbar in the most famous line in the original Planet of the Apes? There's a scene where Tom Felton and Caesar are fighting, and there's a point where Tom Felton says, "Take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape." And the situation he was in was appropriate for him to say something like that, but having to quote the original movie is just... it sounded very forceful, so it kind of took me out of the movie until Caesar shouted, "No!" Also, as good as James Franco is in this movie, James Franco was believable as a scientist, there were a few moments where he just didn't seem to be into it all that much. I mean, there are about 2 or 3 moments, so they aren't enough to take me out of the movie or go, wow, this guy sucks. In the end, Rise of the Planet of the Apes is a fantastic reboot. In this, I mean, I consider it a prequel, but it's also kind of a reboot. It's a preboot. So it's a fantastic preboot and really did breathe new life into the series. After the Tim Burton remake, and unlike the Tim Burton remake, it manages to capture the spirit of the original Planet of the Apes, but also being fresh and new at the same time. I cannot wait to see Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, but for this movie, it's worth seeing in your lifetime. Not as good as the original Planet of the Apes, but pretty good movie. And that's my review for Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Leave a comment, tell me what you thought of the movie, subscribe to my channel for more stuff in the future. Check out my other channel, AlexG8462. You can find links to my Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr, and Instagram accounts on my YouTube page. Go check me out on letterboxd.com under the name The Real Mr. Robinson. And go check out my written reviews on Geeked Out Nation. Share me with your friends and tell them about me. And remember to know it before you see it. This has been The Real Mr. Robinson, and I'll see you guys later.